The sun dipped low behind Mustafar's ashen horizon. The silver hull of Padme Amidala's Nubian cruiser shimmered above rivers of molten fire and lava. As it descended, steam hissed from vents and turbines, stirring the black dust of the landing platform. The air was hot, the heat was dry. This was no place where humans should be. Padme had come to confront Anakin, to talk to him and convince him to leave his dark deeds behind and come with her. Yes, he had done terrible things, but she still loved him. She was still carrying his baby, so Padme hoped against all hope that she would be able to bring Anakin back to the light with her love. No one else understood. That was why she had come alone. But Padme wasn't truly alone. In the darkness of the cargo hold, Master Yoda crouched beneath a tarp of supply crates. His presence was shielded, his mind calm, his purpose clear. He was there to deal with Anakin. He found out that Padme had been planning on going to him, and Yoda knew that his only chance of finding Anakin was by stowing away on board her star cruiser. So there he waited, listening, sensing what was going on. The hatch of the cruiser opened. Padme stepped out, distraught, determined. Anakin! An ominous silhouette emerged from the factory control tower. Anakin Skywalker, now cloaked in black. His eyes glowed yellow, his expression twisted with suspicion. "You shouldn't have come here," he said coldly. There was still love in his eyes, yet he seemed more distant, detached. "Anakin, please, come with me. We can go away, far away." "I am doing the work of my master, Padme," came Anakin's reply. "I'm bringing peace to the Republic, don't you understand?" But then his eyes flicked over her shoulder to the landing ramp of the craft, and his expression became dark. Padme, confused, followed his gaze, and her eyes widened in panic as she saw Yoda slowly walking down the ramp and onto the platform. "You brought him here, didn't you?" Anakin yelled. As rage welled in his throat, his hand rose. Padme gasped, clutching her neck as she was lifted from the ground by an invisible force. Anakin was spiraling out of control. That was when Yoda moved. With a powerful force leap, he soared from the shadows, landing between them. A pulse of energy flung Padme gently away, releasing her from Anakin's grip. She fell unconscious to the ground. "You will not harm her, young Skywalker," Yoda said grimly. Anakin's eyes widened, then narrowed. "So you've come to destroy me." Yoda stood firm, unblinking. "Save you I would, but fallen you have, deep into shadow." "You're wrong," Anakin's lightsaber hissed to life. "Palpatine showed me the truth. The Jedi are traitors." Yoda sighed. "Truth twisted it has become." He waved his small hand, and Anakin's weapon deactivated. Anakin looked down at it, enraged, then to Yoda. "You feared Padme's death, Skywalker," Yoda said. "Palpatine fed those fears." "You don't understand," Anakin howled, staring at the old master. "He promised me power to save her." "Used you, Palpatine has, to destroy the Jedi, to forge a Sith Empire. If destined to die Padme is, then saved she cannot be. Not through the powers of the Sith," he paused for a moment, "nor the Jedi." For the first time, Anakin's dark expression flickered to confusion. "Then why do I feel doubt? How can I save her? Because still, in you, light remains." Anakin lowered his lightsaber and looked to Yoda. Was the old Jedi Master right? Was there still light inside him? Was he not fully gone and twisted by the dark side? He didn't know. On the ground, not too far away, Padme stirred. "Anakin!" Anakin looked at her, and something in him broke. The hate dimmed. His anger subsided. I didn't want this. I thought I could stop it." He ran to his wife and scooped her up into his arms, tears in his eyes. "You still can," Padme whispered. Anakin fell to his knees. "What have I done?" Yoda walked forward slowly. "Come, leave this place. Save her. You still can." The sterile white walls of the Police Massa Medical Station glowed dimly. Padme lay weak but smiling. Anakin held her hand tightly, tears in his eyes. There was love there. Love was never the issue. "You're going to be okay," he whispered. "No matter what happens," she said softly, "I believe in you." In her eyes, he saw the pain of his actions. She forgave him for choking her, but it was clear knowing he killed Jedi and even younglings had nearly pushed her to her breaking point, and for that he felt immense guilt. Suddenly, her body was racked with pain as she went into labor. The medical droid worked quickly, and moments later, the cries of 2 newborns pierced the silence of the sterile medical center. "A boy and a girl," the droid nurse announced. Anakin trembled. "Luke! Leia!" He looked to Padme, who smiled weakly and nodded. But the happiness was fleeting. Yoda stood nearby, his face solemn, watching the scene unfold. But Anakin could not hide the same of his actions. "I did this," Anakin said sadly. "I killed everyone. I let Palpatine use me for years." Yoda placed a hand on his shoulder. "Mistakes, yes? But from them, redemption can grow." Anakin turned to Yoda. "What do I do now?" "Come to Dagobah to begin again." Anakin looked from Padme to his 2 children. He had to make things right. For the galaxy, but more importantly for them. He would go with Yoda, he would make up for his actions, and he would become the Anakin Skywalker that his family needed. Dagobah was a world lost to time. Gnarled roots twisted around thick mist. Massive beasts stirred in the swampy bogs. It was dark, dirty, and cold, but the Force pulsed everywhere. Anakin meditated by the edge of a swamp, his mind full of guilt and regrets. "I see them," he whispered to Yoda, who was sitting nearby. "Younglings, masters, friends. Let them go, you must," Yoda said, "not to forget, to move forward." Yoda trained him hard, not just in lightsaber forms, but in patience, in listening, in humility. Anakin worked harder than he had ever worked while training with Obi Wan. As an apprentice, he had been keen to grow and learn, but he had rushed many things. But now was truly a time to learn and grow. And learn and grow he did. But at night, Anakin still dreamed of darkness, and Yoda saw it in him too. So one day, when in the small hut that they called their home, Yoda handed Anakin a small crystal vial of shimmering green liquid. The little master had spent days preparing it, and he didn't explain to Skywalker what it was or what it was for, but it was finally time. "Drink," Yoda said, offering the vial, "within a trial of your own making." Anakin didn't understand, and at this point he was too afraid to ask, so he brought the vial to his lips and drank. The world around him dissolved into blackness. Dagobah melted, changed, warped. Cold wind howled. He stood in an obsidian hall. Looking around, Anakin didn't know where he was. He had never been in a place like this before. Flames burned from unseen sources. Then came a sound, a mechanical breathing, heavy, ominous. From the shadow stepped Vader, towering, masked, cloaked in shadow. "Who are you?" Anakin breathed, already suspecting the answer. "You know who I am," Vader said in a deep and raspy voice. "I do," came Anakin's worried reply. "I am you." "No," Anakin said, refusing to believe that any part of him could become this mechanical monster. He ignited his blue lightsaber. "You're what I could have become." "I'm what you already are." Vader struck. The duel erupted in a blaze of energy. Every blow Vader landed carried the weight of Anakin's hate. The power was overwhelming, and Anakin was thrown into a pillar, gasping. He knew the fighting style. It was his own, but far more dark, heavy, unstoppable. "You wanted power," Vader sneered. "To save Padme, I gave it to you." Anakin fought back with his own lightning-fast counters and parries, his blue blade a blur against Vader's red weapon. "And I nearly destroyed her." "You betrayed the Jedi," Vader spat. "I was used." The battle grew wilder. Force pushes shattered the walls of the dreamscape. They soared into the sky, trading blows mid-air before crashing back down in a crater of fire. Anakin glanced around. They were surrounded by corpses of Jedi, younglings, friends, people Anakin knew and was close to. Tears filled his eyes, and he continued battling, trying to maintain his emotional balance. But it was failing. Anakin struck to Vader's left, but Vader was ready, defending precisely. Then Vader swung towards Anakin's head, yet Anakin easily batted it away. It was as if Skywalker were fighting a mirror image of himself. The only difference was the fierce strength that Vader had. It was not from the black mechanical suit, rather it came from something within Vader himself. It was a dark strength, unnatural and wild, something that Anakin was on the brink of touching, yet he did not tap into it. "You are weak," Vader hissed. "I was blind. You need me." Anakin was pinned. Vader's saber hovered at his throat. He felt the warmth of it start to burn him as Vader towered over him, forcing it closer. And then, Padme, Luke, Leia, their faces in his mind. They needed him. They needed Anakin. They were what he was fighting to protect. Anakin felt a surge of warmth and light within himself, and he saw his own reflection in Vader's black mirrored visor. He would never be that. "No," Anakin whispered, "I don't need you." With a scream, Anakin threw Vader off him. His saber flashed with clarity and blew fire. He rose to his feet, calm, resolute. This was Anakin Skywalker, Jedi, pure, strong. He was no Sith Lord, not anymore. He had danced with darkness, but that was over, staring at Vader and firmly saying, "You are not my future." Vader lunged. Anakin sidestepped, severing the Vision's hand. Then another strike. Vader's helmet cracked, a twisted, burned face beneath. It was Anakin's own, scarred and deformed. "You'll never be rid of me," the burnt version of Anakin hissed, his eyes as yellow as fire. "I don't have to be," Anakin said. "I just have to choose." He plunged his saber into Vader's heart. The Vision exploded into light. Anakin awoke. Yoda waited by the fire. "You chose the light," he said quietly. "I did," Anakin replied weakly. "Good, very good," came Yoda's warm reply. "Now, return to Coruscant we must. Liberate it from the new Empire's grasp we must. And one threat remains." The Jedi Temple loomed, scarred, haunted. Yoda and Anakin ascended the long steps. They had expected to find clones ready to destroy any Jedi who were foolish enough to return, but there were no troopers in sight. In fact, waiting at the entryway was one single ominous figure, oozing darkness like a terror infecting the galaxy: Darth Sidious. He stood alone, his black robe blowing slightly in the breeze. He had no guard, no escort, no form of backup. Sidious was completely and utterly alone, and yet he stood confident and sure of himself, knowing that his powers were great and his master plan was all coming together. Things had been altered along the way, and Anakin had put up more resistance than Sidious had hoped, but still, as far as the Sith Lord was concerned, turning Anakin to the dark side was far from unachievable. "Ah, Lord Vader, the prodigal son returns," he said, arms outstretched, smiling, and with Master Yoda in tow. He spat out the final part, only glazing down at the elderly Jedi. "I know what you did to me, how you lied and manipulated me and used me," Anakin growled. "It ends now. I am Anakin." "Oh, my boy," Sidious smiled. "We were destined for greatness." "You lied. You made me a murderer." "But I am a Jedi, just like Master Yoda." Sidious's smile faded. He sensed a fundamental change in Anakin, a return to the light that Sidious had tried so hard to snub out over the years. It sickened the Sith Lord to see his hard work going to waste, but he had recovered from setbacks before. He would do so again. Anakin had made a choice, and he had chosen light. He had chosen to stand against Sidious. As you wish. Stand together, die together. He struck, lightning screamed through the air. Anakin deflected it with his saber, while Yoda leapt into battle. The air vibrated with raw force power. As Yoda spun to strike with his green lightsaber, Sidious's own crimson weapon burst to life, blocking the attack before the lightning stopped and a second red weapon ignited in his other hand. Anakin charged in, attacking with the strength of all of his anger and frustrations. They battled through the ruined temple, the trio launching through shattered columns, sabers clashing in midair. On the ground were strewn bodies of Jedi and clones alike, yet the Sith Lord trampled them as he battled, laughing all the while. Sidious's speed was terrifying. He spun through the air, saber flashing, lightning arcing from his fingers. His attacks were terrifyingly relentless. Yoda countered, absorbing the blasts, soaking them into his body, and releasing them in bursts of invisible light energy, dispersing the evil into the ether. Meanwhile, Anakin dueled fiercely, every strike fueled not by hate, but by resolve. Sidious roared, "Use your anger, strike me down, and embrace your destiny," he cackled coldly. "No," Anakin said. "I remember who I am." Sidious blasted Yoda into a wall. The Jedi Master crumpled, stunned. Despite Yoda being the Grand Master of the Jedi Order, he was still 800 years old, and his body was aching and tired. He was not nearly as fast as he used to be. Anakin charged, but Sidious unleashed a powerful wave, sending him skidding. "Look at you," Sidious hissed, "still clinging to weakness." Anakin closed his eyes, feeling Vader rising up inside himself, and he reached into the Force. But not into darkness, into light. Yoda rose beside him, together. "Remember your training, you must." Anakin opened his eyes and nodded, and the two Jedi surged forward. Sidious cackled, blocking both blows, but finally being driven backwards. As Anakin and Yoda's relentless onslaught continued, Sidious's laugh faded slightly, and he had to work to try to maintain control of the battle. Yoda's green blade and Anakin's blue blade seemed to be everywhere at once, and he worked hard to protect himself, suddenly not attacking, but defending. Yoda disarming Sidious's blade, Anakin catching it mid-air and driving the attack. Sidious backed onto the edge of a landing platform. "I am eternal," he screamed. "I cannot be killed." "If I do this in hate," Anakin said, "then I am a Sith." Yoda looked at him. "A Jedi you always have been." Sidious lunged, both blades raised, ready to strike a killing blow to whichever Jedi he got to first. But Yoda and Anakin raised their hands together. With the Force, they gripped his body, freezing him in midair. Sidious's cackle stopped and a look of genuine fear crossed his face. Then Yoda, with his free hand, motioned towards one of the massive crumbling columns at the base of the Jedi Temple. He made a fist and pulled, toppling the massive masonry structure on top of Sidious, crushing him. The Sith Lord's scream echoed for miles as he watched the column falling towards him. Then there was a deafening rumble as it landed. Silence followed. Darth Sidious, Lord of the Sith, was no more. Despite the climactic and galactic changing events of the night before, Coruscant was only just waking, unaware of what had occurred and the massive shift that had taken place. Dawn glimmered on the horizon, fresh, bright, and new. Anakin stood atop the Jedi Temple steps as the dust settled. "It's over." "No," Yoda said, "it begins." They stood in silence for a long moment. Anakin reflected on his journey, how he had once been Obi Wan's headstrong apprentice, how he had been torn by the Jedi and manipulated by Palpatine, how he had turned his back on the Order and tried to annihilate them, killing so many innocents and even nearly killing Padme in the process. But he had also redeemed himself. He had battled his own inner demons and defeated his own dark side. He had turned back to the light when it mattered the most, and brought balance to the Force as was prophesied. Whether he would ever truly redeem his dark deeds remained to be seen, but the death of Darth Sidious was a start, and Anakin would work hard to fix things. "I'm going to Naboo," Anakin finally said. "To Padme, to my children. They're my future now." Yoda nodded. "Go, live, guard them well." He understood. He knew how much Skywalker had been through. They bowed to each other, smiling. Master and student, Jedi and Jedi. On Naboo, beneath the waterfalls and sunlight, Anakin sat in a garden. Padme held Leia. Luke crawled in the grass nearby. He smiled. This was his peace, his happiness. Despite the dark deeds of his past, Anakin's future shimmered with possibility. He would never be perfect, but he had made a choice. And in the eyes of his children, the galaxy was reborn.